In the history of the modern British monarchy, few decisions were as unusual and as forward-thinking as Princess Anne's choice to raise her children without royal titles. No His Lordship, no princess, no courtesy ranks. Just Peter Phillips and Zara Phillips, two grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth II, who grew up outside the formal machinery of royal life. Yet their stories didn't fade into the background. Instead, they unfold across rugby stadiums, Olympic arenas, business conferences, and the quiet green fields of Gloucestershire. These are not the stories of working royals. They are the stories of two people who live beside the throne rather than on it, shaped by royalty but not defined by it. Today we examine their entire lives, from birth to family to career, and how each of them forged a future beyond palace walls. This is the complete chronological biography of Princess Anne's children and what became of them. Princess Anne has long been regarded as the most pragmatic member of the British royal family. From her early years as a competitive equestrian to her decades of tireless royal duties, Anne cultivated a reputation for discipline, directness, and an aversion to unnecessary ceremony. This philosophy would come to define not only her own life, but the lives of her two children in ways that marked a fundamental departure from royal tradition. When Anne married Captain Mark Phillips in 1973, she was already charting an independent course. Her husband declined a peerage offered by the Queen, a decision that would have significant implications for their future children. Without a father bearing a title, any children born to Anne and Mark would not automatically receive courtesy titles. More significantly, Anne herself decided against requesting titles from the Queen for her children, a choice she later described as giving them greater freedom and flexibility in their lives. This decision, made in the late 1970s and early 1980s, was radical for its time. The royal family of that era still operated largely within Victorian and Edwardian frameworks of hierarchy and formality. Yet Anne recognized that the world was changing and that her children, as more distant from the throne, might benefit from lives less constrained by protocol and expectation. The result was an upbringing that blended contradictions. Peter and Zara Phillips grew up on a royal estate, attended family gatherings at Windsor and Balmoral, and had the Queen as their grandmother. But they also attended state schools initially, competed in sports without royal handlers, and were expected to build their own careers. They were royal, but not of the royal household. They were Windsors, but not working royals. This video traces the complete lives of both children chronologically, examining how each navigated the unique position Anne created for them and what their lives reveal about the evolution of the modern British monarchy. Peter Mark Andrew Phillips was born on 15th November 1977 at St. Mary's Hospital in Paddington, London, in the same Lindo wing that would later become famous for royal births. He arrived at 10:46 in the morning, weighing 7 pounds 9 ounces, the first child of Princess Anne and Captain Mark Phillips. His birth represented a significant moment in royal history. Peter was the first grandchild of Queen Elizabeth II, arriving more than a decade before Prince William would be born. As such, he became the Queen's first experience of grandmotherhood and established her in a new familial role that would define much of her later life. At birth, Peter stood fifth in line to the British throne behind his mother, his uncles Charles, Andrew, and Edward. His name choices reflected his position. Peter, a solid traditional English name with no royal precedent in recent history, Mark, after his father, and Andrew, after his uncle Prince Andrew, who was 17 at the time. The most notable aspect of Peter's birth, however, was what he did not receive. Unlike previous generations of royal grandchildren, Peter was not given a title. He was simply Master Peter Phillips. This absence of rank was deliberate, the result of his father's earlier decision to decline an earldom and his mother's preference for a more ordinary upbringing. The decision attracted considerable media attention at the time, with commentators divided on whether it represented progressive thinking or a slight to tradition. Peter's childhood unfolded primarily at Gatcombe Park, the Gloucestershire estate that Queen Elizabeth II purchased for Princess Anne in 1976. The 730-acre estate, with its Georgian manor house and extensive grounds, became the center of the Phillips family's private life and would remain Anne's primary residence for decades. Life at Gatcombe was deliberately removed from the pageantry of royal palaces. While the house was substantial and the grounds impressive, the atmosphere Anne cultivated was one of a working country estate rather than a royal residence. Horses, dogs, and agricultural land defined the landscape. The estate hosted horse trials and farming operations, creating an environment that was active and practical rather than ceremonial. Peter grew up in this environment, learning to ride almost as soon as he could walk. Princess Anne, herself an accomplished Olympic equestrian, ensured that both her children were comfortable around horses from an early age. Peter participated in local pony club activities, competed in small events, and developed the outdoor skills typical of children raised on British country estates. Anne's parenting style during these years was hands-on but unsentimental. She maintained a full schedule of royal engagements, often undertaking hundreds of official duties each year, but she prioritized being present for her children when at home. Unlike some royal parents of previous generations who delegated much of child-rearing to nannies and governesses, Anne was directly involved in her children's daily lives, school decisions, and discipline. The media presence around Peter's childhood was relatively limited compared to later royal children. Anne had long maintained a complicated relationship with the press, and she was protective of her children's privacy. Peter and his younger sister Zara were photographed at major royal events and family gatherings, but their day-to-day lives remained largely shielded from public scrutiny. Peter's educational journey reflected both his royal connections and his parents' desire for a rigorous, character-building experience. He began his schooling at Port Regis School, a preparatory school in Dorset, before following in his father's footsteps to Gordonstone School in Scotland. Gordonstone, founded by German educator Kurt Hahn in 1934, was famous for its emphasis on physical challenge, outdoor education, and character development. Prince Philip had attended Gordonstone and had ensured that Prince Charles also went there, despite Charles's well-documented unhappiness with the experience. The school's philosophy centered on building resilience, independence, and public service through a demanding curriculum that balanced academics with physical training, community service, and outdoor expeditions. Peter thrived at Gordonstone in ways his Uncle Charles had not. He participated in the school's fire service, a program where students trained as firefighters and responded to real emergencies in the local community. He played rugby and engaged in the mountain rescue and sailing programs that were central to the Gordonstone experience. The school's emphasis on self-reliance and practical skills suited Peter's personality and upbringing. After completing his time at Gordonstone, Peter attended the University of Exeter, where he studied sports science. Exeter, a well-regarded research university in southwest England, allowed Peter to pursue his interests in athletics and physical education while maintaining some distance from the intense media scrutiny that might have come with attending Oxford or Cambridge. He graduated in 2000 with his degree, equipped with both academic credentials and the practical experience of having navigated university life as the Queen's grandson without royal protection or title. Peter's entry into the working world represented a test of his mother's philosophy. Without a royal title or position within the firm, he would need to build a career based on his own qualifications and abilities, though the reality was that his family connections inevitably opened certain doors. His first major position came with Jaguar Racing, the Formula One team operated by the luxury car manufacturer. Peter worked in corporate hospitality, a role that involved managing relationships with sponsors and VIP guests at racing events. The position made sense given his sports science background and his comfort in high-profile social situations. However, it also placed him in the complex position of representing a commercial brand while being the Queen's grandson. From Jaguar, Peter moved to Williams F1, another Formula One team with a prestigious history in the sport. Again, his role centered on corporate hospitality and sponsor relations. These positions in Formula One allowed Peter to travel internationally, develop business skills, and operate in a glamorous but competitive commercial environment. The challenge throughout this period was navigating the perception that his royal connections, rather than his abilities, were driving his career. Peter was acutely aware of this dynamic. He could not simply be another sports marketing professional. Everything he did was assessed through the lens of his relationship to the royal family. Yet without the formal structure of being a working royal with a defined role and income from the sovereign grant, he needed to earn a living in the private sector. As Peter moved into his 30s, his career focus shifted towards sports management and event organization. He became a director at SEL UK, a company specializing in sports and entertainment hospitality. The role involved organizing corporate events, managing sponsorship deals, and creating experiences for clients at major sporting occasions. This work occasionally brought scrutiny, particularly when Peter's events involved royal connections. In 2008, he was criticized for organizing a corporate event at the British Grand Prix that included a photo opportunity with the Queen. Critics suggested he was commercializing his access to the royal family, a charge that highlighted the ongoing tension in Peter's position. He was not a working royal, so he needed to earn money through private ventures, but those ventures inevitably drew value from his royal connections. Peter also appeared occasionally at royal events in a family capacity. He attended weddings, funerals, and major celebrations, always as a private citizen rather than an official representative of the crown. This position as a peripheral royal, present but not performing, family but not firm, became the model that several of his younger cousins would later follow or aspire to. In interviews and public statements, which were rare, Peter consistently emphasized his appreciation for his mother's decision not to give him a title. He described the choice as liberating, allowing him to build a career without the constraints and expectations that came with being a working royal. Whether this represented his genuine feelings or a diplomatic acknowledgement of decisions made before his birth, it became his consistent public position. Peter's personal life became a subject of significant public interest when he began a relationship with Autumn Kelly, a Canadian woman he met in 2003 at the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. Kelly, born in Montreal in 1978, had been working as a management consultant and represented a departure from the aristocratic or upper-class British women previous generations of royals typically married. The relationship developed over several years, with Kelly spending increasing amounts of time in Britain. The couple's engagement was announced in July 2007, accompanied by the traditional photo call at Gatcombe Park. The announcement revealed an important detail. Kelly, who had been raised Roman Catholic, had converted to Anglicanism. This conversion was necessary because of the Act of Settlement 1701, which at that time would have removed Peter from the line of succession had he married a Catholic. The law would later be changed in 2013, but at the time of Peter's marriage, it remained in force. Peter and Autumn married on 17th of May 2008 at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. The wedding was a significant royal occasion attended by the Queen, Prince Philip, and most of the royal family. Unlike working royals, however, Peter and Autumn paid for much of the wedding themselves, though they had use of the chapel through the Queen's permission. The ceremony was traditional Anglican, conducted by the Dean of Windsor, and attracted substantial media coverage. The marriage represented Peter successfully establishing an independent personal life. Autumn Kelly, intelligent and accomplished in her own right, seemed comfortable with the unusual position of being married to the Queen's grandson while remaining outside the formal royal structure. Peter and Autumn's first child, Savannah Ann Kathleen Phillips, was born on 29 December 2010 at Gloucestershire Royal Hospital. She weighed 8 pounds 8 ounces and became the Queen's first great-grandchild, another generational milestone for the monarch. Savannah's birth was announced in the traditional manner, with a notice on an easel placed at Buckingham Palace, and she was 12th in line to the throne. Her name choices honored family. Savannah was said to be a name both parents liked. Anne honored her grandmother, Princess Anne, and Kathleen honored Autumn's mother. Like her father, Savannah received no title, continuing the pattern Anne had established. The couple's second daughter, Isla Elizabeth Phillips, was born on 29 March 2012, also at Gloucestershire Royal Hospital. Weighing 7 pounds 4 ounces, Isla's arrival completed Peter and Autumn's family. Her name similarly reflected family connections, with Elizabeth honoring the Queen. Both girls were raised primarily at the family home in Gloucestershire, close to Gatcombe Park, and their grandmother, Princess Anne. They attended local schools and participated in country activities, riding and spending time outdoors. They appeared occasionally at major royal events, most notably at the Queen's various Jubilee celebrations and at royal weddings. where photographs of Savannah covering Prince George's mouth during a balcony appearance became widely circulated. Peter and Autumn were careful to balance their daughter's royal connections with a desire for normal childhoods. The girls were not given security details or official roles. They were members of the royal family in a genealogical sense, but were being raised as private citizens, exactly as Anne had intended for her own children. In February 2020, Peter and Autumn announced their separation after 12 years of marriage. The statement emphasized their commitment to co-parenting their daughters and described the decision as mutual and amicable. The couple cited the difficulty of maintaining a relationship when Peter's work often kept him in Britain while Autumn preferred Canada. The divorce was finalized in 2021. The settlement and custody arrangements were kept private, though it was understood that both parents would remain actively involved in their daughters' lives. Autumn initially planned to return to Canada with the children, which would have represented a significant geographical separation from the royal family, but ultimately arrangements were made for all parties to remain in Britain, at least during the children's school years. Following the divorce, Peter was linked romantically to several women. He had a relationship with Lindsay Wallace, a longtime friend, which became public when they attended various events together. More recently, he was reported to be in a relationship with Harriet Sperling, a healthcare professional and divorced mother. These relationships attracted some media attention but remained largely private, with Peter declining to make public statements about his personal life. In his 40s, Peter continued his work in sports management and event organization. He remained close to his family, regularly attending events at Gatcombe Park and appearing at major royal occasions. His position as the Queen's eldest grandchild gave him a certain status within the family, though he maintained no official role or responsibilities. Throughout his life, Peter's relationship with his mother remained strong and significant. Princess Anne, despite her demanding schedule of royal duties, maintained close connections with both her children. Peter frequently praised his mother's parenting decisions in the rare interviews he gave, particularly her choice not to burden him and his sister with titles. Anne's approach to motherhood combined warmth with high expectations. She expected her children to work hard, behave properly, and take responsibility for their own lives. This demanding style, rooted in her own upbringing and her experiences as an elite athlete, shaped both Peter and Zara into independent, capable adults. Peter often appeared alongside his mother at Gatcombe Park events, particularly the Festival of British Eventing and the Gatcombe Horse Trials, major competitions hosted on the estate. These occasions provided opportunities for the family to gather away from the formal royal spotlight, united by their shared love of equestrian sport. As Anne entered her 70s, Peter became increasingly important as her eldest child and the father of her first grandchildren. The Princess Royal, while not publicly demonstrative, was known to be devoted to her grandchildren and spent considerable time with them at Gatcombe. Peter facilitated these relationships, ensuring his daughters knew and connected with their royal heritage even as they lived private lives. Peter Mark Andrew Phillips occupies a unique position in British royal history. As the first grandchild of Queen Elizabeth II, he established a template that would influence how future, more distant royals might live. His life demonstrated that it was possible to be closely connected to the throne, to appear at state occasions, to be recognized as part of the family, while building an entirely private career in life. The model Peter represented was not without complications. The question of how to monetize one's expertise and connections without appearing to commercialize one's royal status remained unresolved. But Peter navigated these waters with relative success, avoiding major scandal and maintaining his reputation as a stable, low-profile presence in the royal orbit. His greatest legacy may be as the father of Savannah and Isla, two girls who represent another generation further removed from the throne but still part of the Windsor family story. Through them, Princess Anne's bloodline continues, carrying forward the equestrian traditions and practical values she embodied. Peter proved that his mother's radical decision to raise untitled children could produce well-adjusted adults capable of building independent lives. In doing so, he became a quiet pioneer of a more modern, flexible approach to royal life at its margins. Zara Ann Elizabeth Phillips was born on 15 May 1981 at the Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital in London, arriving at 8:15 in the evening and weighing 8 pounds 1 ounce. She was the second child of Princess Anne and Captain Mark Phillips, joining her brother Peter, who was 3.5 years old. Her names carried significant family meaning. Zara was an unusual choice for the royal family, said to have been suggested by Prince Charles. The name, of Arabic origin meaning radiance or blooming flower, had no precedent in recent British royal history. Anne, her middle name, honored her mother, the Princess Royal. Elizabeth honored her grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. Together, the names created a bridge between royal tradition and individual distinctiveness. At birth, Zara was sixth in line to the British throne. Like her brother, she received no royal title, marking her as Master Peter's sister in the eyes of formal protocol, but simply Zara Phillips to everyone else. The decision not to grant her a title had been established with Peter's birth 4 years earlier, so there was less public commentary surrounding Zara's arrival, though she remained a subject of considerable interest as the Queen's only granddaughter at the time. From the beginning, Zara's life would be shaped by the same philosophy that defined Peter's upbringing: royal by blood, private by design, and expected to forge her own path. Zara's childhood at Gatcombe Park was defined by horses, countryside, and the practical discipline her mother embodied. While her brother Peter engaged with equestrian activities, Zara demonstrated an exceptional natural affinity for riding from a very young age. She was on horseback almost as soon as she could sit up, and by age 4, she was riding independently around the Gatcombe estate. Princess Anne, who had competed at the 1976 Montreal Olympics in 3-day eventing and won the European Eventing Championship in 1971, recognized her daughter's talent immediately. However, Anne was careful not to push Zara into the sport. Instead, she provided access to excellent horses and training while allowing her daughter to develop her own passion for riding. The approach worked. Zara's enthusiasm for equestrian sport became self-sustaining, driven by genuine love rather than parental expectation. Life at Gatcombe during Zara's childhood involved regular exposure to competitive riding. The estate hosted major horse trials, bringing international competitors and large crowds to the Phillips family's doorstep. Zara absorbed this world naturally, watching elite riders prepare and compete, understanding the dedication required, and developing her own ambitions. Beyond riding, Zara's childhood followed the same pattern as her brother's. Local schools initially, time outdoors, dogs and animals, and occasional appearances at major royal gatherings. Anne's parenting remained consistent, present but not indulgent, supportive but demanding. Both children were expected to be polite, work hard, and not trade on their royal connections for special treatment. Zara's educational journey took her through several schools before she, like her brother, attended Gordonstoun School in Scotland. The family tradition of attending Gordonstoun, established by Prince Philip and continued through several royal children, meant Zara experienced the same emphasis on outdoor education, physical challenge, and character development that had shaped her father, brother, and uncles. At Gordonstoun, Zara participated fully in the school's programs. She engaged in outdoor expeditions, community service, and the athletic programs that were central to the school's philosophy. Unlike some royal students who struggled with Gordonstoun's demanding environment, Zara adapted well. Her natural athleticism and outdoor upbringing made her well suited to the school's approach. After Gordonstoun, Zara attended the University of Exeter, the same institution her brother had attended. She studied physiotherapy, a choice that reflected both her interest in the human body's physical capabilities and her understanding that she would need a professional qualification. The degree program was rigorous and practical, involving clinical placements and hands-on training alongside academic coursework. However, even as she pursued her physiotherapy degree, Zara was developing her equestrian career. She competed regularly throughout her university years, balancing academic demands with training and competition schedules. By the time she graduated from Exeter in 2002, Zara faced a decision: pursue physiotherapy as a career or commit fully to professional riding. She chose the latter, a decision that would define the next 15 years of her life. Zara's emergence as an elite equestrian athlete was gradual but impressive. She competed in her first major international competition in 1998 at age 17, riding in Young Rider Championships. Over the next several years, she steadily improved, taking on more challenging courses and more accomplished horses. Her breakthrough came with Toy Town, a horse she began competing with in 2003. The partnership between Zara and Toy Town would become one of the most successful in British eventing history. Toy Town, a chestnut gelding with exceptional talent but also a difficult temperament, required a rider with skill, patience, and nerve. Zara provided all three. In 2005, Zara and Toy Town won the individual gold medal at the European Eventing Championships in Blenheim. The victory was significant not just for its prestige, but because it came at the same venue where her mother had won the European Championship in 1971, exactly 34 years earlier. The symmetry was powerful, though both Anne and Zara downplayed the emotional connection, preferring to focus on the technical achievement. The following year brought even greater success. At the 2006 FEI World Equestrian Games in Aachen, Germany, Zara and Toy Town won the individual gold medal in eventing, becoming world champions. The achievement placed Zara among the elite riders in global equestrian sport and earned her the BBC Sports Personality of the Year award, making her the first royal to receive the honor. She was also appointed member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE, in the 2007 New Year Honors for her services to equestrianism. These accomplishments were significant for multiple reasons. First, they validated Anne's decision to raise her children without titles, allowing Zara to compete and be recognized purely on merit. Second, they demonstrated that royal women could achieve at the highest levels of international sport. Third, and perhaps most importantly for Zara personally, they established her identity as an elite athlete rather than merely as the Queen's granddaughter. Zara's ultimate ambition was to compete at the Olympic Games, following in her mother's footsteps. Princess Anne had competed at Montreal in 1976, and the Olympic dream became Zara's defining goal. Her first serious attempt to reach the Olympics came ahead of the 2008 Beijing Games. She had the qualifying results and the horse, but in April 2008, Toy Town suffered a tendon injury that ended any hope of Olympic participation. The setback was devastating. 4 years of training and preparation ended suddenly, and at 27 years old, Zara faced the reality that Toy Town might never compete at the highest level again. She persevered, developing partnerships with other horses and continuing to compete internationally. As the 2012 London Olympics approached, Zara's focus intensified. The London Games would be held in her home country, providing a rare opportunity to compete on familiar ground. More significantly, her grandmother would be celebrating her Diamond Jubilee the same year, making 2012 a landmark moment for the royal family. Zara earned her place on the British eventing team for London 2012 riding High Kingdom. The team competition took place at Greenwich Park in front of enthusiastic home crowds. The pressure was immense. The expectations of a nation, the presence of family members, including the Queen herself, and the weight of finally achieving the Olympic dream. The British team performed excellently. In eventing, teams consist of 4 riders, and their combined scores determine the team medal. Britain finished with the silver medal, behind Germany, but ahead of New Zealand. The moment when Princess Anne, in her capacity as Princess Royal and President of the British Olympic Association, presented the silver medal to her daughter remains one of the most memorable images from the 2012 Games. Both women maintained professional composure during the ceremony, but the significance of the moment was evident to everyone watching. While Zara's primary identity was as an equestrian athlete, she also developed a parallel career as a brand ambassador and businesswoman. Unlike working royals who cannot engage in commercial endorsements, Zara was free to accept sponsorship deals and represent various companies. She became an ambassador for Land Rover, the luxury vehicle manufacturer with strong connections to country pursuits and equestrian sport. She also worked with Rolex Musto, equestrian and sailing clothing, and various other brands aligned with her lifestyle and interests. These partnerships were carefully chosen to match her authentic activities and values, avoiding the perception that she was simply lending her name to products she didn't use. Zara also engaged in charitable work, though on a smaller scale than working royals. She supported various equestrian and sporting charities, participated in fundraising events, and used her profile to draw attention to causes she cared about. Her approach to charity work was practical and hands-on rather than ceremonial, reflecting her mother's style of royal duty. Media appearances were selective but regular. Zara participated in documentaries about equestrianism, gave interviews about major competitions, and appeared on sports programs. She was also a regular presence at major sporting events as a spectator, often photographed at Cheltenham Festival, rugby matches, and other competitions. Her position as a sporty, accessible royal made her popular with the public. She represented a modern version of royalty, accomplished, hardworking, and relatable without being undignified. She attended royal events in formal attire and conducted herself with appropriate decorum, but she also appeared in muddy boots and riding gear, celebrating victories with authentic emotion rather than royal restraint. Zara's personal life intersected with British sporting culture when she met Mike Tindall, a professional rugby player in Sydney, Australia in 2003 during a Rugby World Cup event. Tindall, born in 1978 in Yorkshire, played centre for the England national rugby team and had just helped England win the 2003 Rugby World Cup. The relationship developed over several years as both pursued demanding athletic careers. Tindall played for Bath Rugby and later Gloucester Rugby in England's Premiership, while Zara maintained her international eventing schedule. Despite the challenges of two professional sports careers, the relationship strengthened. Their engagement was announced on 21 December 2010. The couple posed for photographs at Buckingham Palace, with Zara wearing an engagement ring designed by Tindall. The announcement followed the engagement of Prince William and Catherine Middleton by just a month, creating a period of romantic celebration within the royal family. Zara and Mike married on 30 July 2011 at Canongate Kirk in Edinburgh, Scotland. The choice of venue was significant. Canongate Kirk is the Church of Holyrood House, the Queen's official Scottish residence, and has strong royal connections. However, the wedding was notably more low-key than William and Catherine's wedding 3 months earlier. There was no televised ceremony, no public procession, and no balcony appearance. The Queen and Prince Philip attended, along with most of the royal family, but the event maintained a private, family-focused atmosphere. The marriage worked remarkably well. Tindall, gregarious and unpretentious, fit comfortably into both royal gatherings and sporting events. He retired from professional rugby in 2014 but remained involved in the sport through media work and business ventures. The couple settled near Gatcombe Park, maintaining close ties to Princess Anne while building their own family life. Zara and Mike's first child, Mia Grace Tindall, was born on 17 January 2014 at Gloucestershire Royal Hospital. She weighed 7 pounds 12 ounces and became Princess Anne's third grandchild and the Queen's fourth great-grandchild. Her arrival was announced through traditional channels, though with less formality than births of direct heirs. Mia stood 16th in line to the throne at birth. The joy of Mia's arrival was followed by heartbreak. In December 2016, Zara suffered a miscarriage. She announced the loss publicly, a decision that was unusual for royal family members, but which helped bring attention to the common yet often unspoken experience of pregnancy loss. In 2017, she suffered a second miscarriage, which she also spoke about publicly. Her willingness to discuss these painful experiences was seen as breaking royal taboos around personal suffering and helped many women feel less alone in their own losses. On 18 June 2018, Zara gave birth to her second daughter, Lena Elizabeth Tindall, at Stroud Maternity Unit in Gloucestershire. She weighed 9 pounds 3 ounces, making her the heaviest of Zara's 3 children. Her name honored her great-grandmother, the Queen, Elizabeth, and followed the family pattern of meaningful but not overtly royal names. The couple's third child and only son, Lucas Philip Tindall, arrived on 21 March 2021 in dramatic circumstances. Zara went into labor so quickly that there was no time to reach the hospital. Lucas was born at Gatcombe Park, delivered by Mike with the assistance of a midwife who arrived just in time. He weighed 8 pounds 4 ounces. His name honored his great-grandfather, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who would die less than 3 weeks after Lucas's birth. All 3 Tindall children have been raised with the same philosophy Anne applied to Zara and Peter, part of the royal family but leading private lives. They attend local schools, participate in outdoor activities, ride horses, and appear occasionally at major royal events. They have no titles, no security details, and no expectation of future royal roles. They are being raised as the great-great-grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth II, but also simply as children of the Gloucestershire countryside. Zara and Mike's home, Aston Farm, is located on the Gatcombe Park estate, giving them immediate proximity to Princess Anne. This arrangement has fostered an exceptionally close relationship between Anne and her daughter's family. The Princess Royal is a regular presence in her grandchildren's lives, and Gatcombe has become the center of an extended family network. The estate continues to host major equestrian competitions, including the Festival of British Eventing, which takes place annually in August. These events draw thousands of spectators and feature international riders competing at the highest levels. Zara often competes at Gatcombe events, and her children are growing up in the same horse-centered environment that shaped her own childhood. Beyond the estate, Zara and Mike are regular fixtures at royal family gatherings. They attended all major events during Queen Elizabeth II's final years, including her Platinum Jubilee celebrations in 2022. Following the Queen's death in September 2022, they participated in the funeral ceremonies with appropriate solemnity. They attended the coronation of King Charles III in May 2023, with their children joining in the celebrations. Zara has also remained visible at sporting events, both as a spectator and occasional competitor. While her elite competitive career has wound down as she's entered her 40s and focused on raising children, she continues to ride and participate in select competitions. She's frequently seen at Cheltenham Festival, rugby matches, and other sporting occasions, often with Mike and sometimes with their children. The Tyndalls represent a successful model of modern royal life. They balance public visibility with genuine privacy, maintain appropriate dignity while remaining relatable, and contribute to family occasions without demanding special treatment. They have built a life centered on sport, family, and the Gloucestershire countryside that seems both privileged and remarkably normal. The bond between Zara and her mother is perhaps the strongest single relationship in Princess Anne's personal life. The two women share not only family ties, but also a deep connection through equestrian sport, practical values, and similar temperaments. Anne's influence on Zara is evident in almost every aspect of Zara's life. The discipline, work ethic, and unpretentious approach to royal status that Anne embodied have been fully absorbed by her daughter. Zara's willingness to speak candidly in interviews, her focus on achievement rather than status, and her comfortable navigation between royal events and muddy horse trials all reflect her mother's example. Zara has spoken publicly about her appreciation for her mother's parenting decisions, particularly the choice not to give her and Peter titles. In various interviews, she has described this decision as liberating, allowing her to build a career as an athlete without the burden of being Princess Zara and the expectations that would have accompanied such a title. Whether competing, accepting sponsorships, or simply living her life, Zara has benefited from the freedom her mother secured for her. The shared passion for equestrian sport created an additional dimension to their relationship. While Anne had stepped back from competitive riding by the time Zara reached elite status, she remained deeply involved in the sport through administration and support. The moment at the 2012 Olympics when Anne presented Zara with her silver medal crystallized their unique mother-daughter bond, two Olympians, two champions, two women who had proven themselves in the demanding world of three-day eventing. Anne is also deeply involved as a grandmother to Mia, Lena, and Lucas. She lives immediately adjacent to their home, sees them regularly, and is introducing them to horses and country life just as she did with Zara decades earlier. The continuity of values and lifestyle from Anne to Zara to the next generation represents a successful transmission of family culture outside the formal royal framework. Zara Anne Elizabeth Tyndall stands as one of Britain's most accomplished equestrian athletes. Her European Championship and World Championship gold medals, combined with her Olympic silver medal, place her in a select group of riders who have achieved at the highest international level. The comparison to her mother's Olympic and European Championship achievements is inevitable, and Zara has matched and in some ways exceeded Anne's competitive record. Beyond her sporting achievements, Zara represents a fully realized version of the model Anne envisioned when she chose not to give her children titles. Zara has lived an authentic life defined by her own choices and accomplishments. She married whom she chose, built the career she wanted, spoke openly about personal challenges, and maintained appropriate dignity in royal settings while remaining accessible and genuine in everyday life. Her influence extends to questions about the future of the monarchy. As the royal family continues to slim down, focusing on direct heirs to the throne, Zara's model of being connected but independent becomes increasingly relevant for younger royals born further from succession. She has demonstrated that it is possible to add value to the family's public image without being a working royal, to maintain tradition without being bound by it. The equestrian tradition that Prince Philip brought into the royal family through his interest in carriage driving, that Princess Anne elevated through her Olympic achievement, has been sustained and advanced by Zara. Should her own children develop similar passions, the tradition will extend to a fourth generation, creating one of the most distinctive non-royal royal legacies in modern British history. Most significantly, Zara proved that royal women could compete and succeed at the highest levels of international sport. In an era when female athletes still fight for recognition and equal treatment, Zara's achievements, supported by her mother's example decades earlier, provided powerful evidence that royal status need not limit women's ambitions or capabilities. Princess Anne's decision in the late 1970s and early 1980s not to burden her children with royal titles represented a quiet revolution in how the British royal family approached its more distant members. The decision, made when the implications were uncertain and the precedent was thin, has been vindicated by the lives Peter and Zara have built. Both children successfully navigated the unique challenge of being simultaneously royal and common. They attended family gatherings at Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, but built careers in the private sector. They stood in the line of succession but earned their own livings. They bore famous names but created independent identities. Peter's path took him through business and sports management, establishing a model for how a royal grandchild might operate in the commercial world without title or official position. His marriage, divorce, and continued role as father to two daughters, who are great-great-granddaughters of Queen Elizabeth II, extended the family line while maintaining its private character. Zara's achievements were more publicly spectacular: championship titles, Olympic medals, international recognition, but they too validated Anne's choices. By allowing her daughter to compete without a title, Anne gave Zara the freedom to be judged purely on merit, to accept commercial sponsorships, and to build an identity as an athlete first and a royal second. The descendants of Peter and Zara, Savannah, Isla, Mia, Lena, and Lucas, represent another generation further removed from the throne but still part of the Windsor family story. They are being raised in the same spirit Anne established with their parents, aware of their heritage but not defined by it, present at major family occasions but living fundamentally private lives. As the British monarchy continues to evolve in the 21st century, contracting its official working membership while expanding its extended family, the Phillips and Tyndall children provide a template. They demonstrate that royal family members can add to the institution's vitality and public appeal without being funded by taxpayers or given official duties. They show that being born into royalty need not prevent someone from building an authentic, self-directed life. Princess Anne, in her practical, unsentimental way, gave her children an extraordinary gift: the freedom to define themselves. Peter and Zara, in turn, have proven themselves worthy of that gift, building lives of genuine accomplishment while maintaining appropriate connection to their royal heritage. Their story is not one of palace intrigue or ceremonial drama, but rather of two people who live beside the throne, shaped by it but not imprisoned by it, creating a model of modern royal life at its margins that may prove more influential than many weightier precedents from within the palace walls.